Well, hello. I'm Bill Simpson. It's April 24th, 2020. I'm at my cabin in scenic and picturesque Russell Gulch, Colorado. What I'd like to do today is talk about two of the background arguments to Thomas Nagel's 2012 book, Mind and Cosmos. Now, Nagel's overall claim in Mind and Cosmos is that materialism has failed to provide us with a coherent account of consciousness, and this failure threatens to undercut the very foundations of modern science, or at least the very foundations driving how contemporary scientists take themselves to be explaining things. Now, there are two arguments operating in the background of Mind and Cosmos: Saul Kripke's conceivability argument and Thomas Nagel's bat argument. Let's take Kripke's conceivability argument first. The conceivability argument made its first appearance in Kripke's 1980 Naming and Necessity, but it was circulating in manuscript form for at least a decade prior to that. It goes like this. Premise 1. If reductive materialism were true, then mental states would be identical with brain states. In other words, everything that you could say about the one, you could necessarily say about the other, and vice versa, like the morning star and the evening star. Premise 2. But the correspondence of brain states and mental states has, in Kripke's words, a certain obvious element of contingency. For example, mental states could be realized in different types of matter but still have the same structure. Or alternatively, they could be realized as binaries, with 1 being on and 0 being off, or as reverse binaries, with 0 being on and 1 being off. Hence, reductive materialism comes up false. Now let's look at Nagel's bat arguments. This appeared in a paper Nagel wrote called What Is It Like to Be a Bat in 1974. Premise 1. If physicalism were true, then the reductivist account of mental states would be exhaustive. That is to say, no additional information would even exist. Now notice that this is another version of Kripke's premise. Again, every psychological fact would also be a physiological fact and vice versa. Everything you said about the one, you could also say about the other. But the fact of what it's like to be a bat is inaccessible to physicalism only. Nagel's point is this. Bats have the experience of flying by echolocation, but that experiential fact is inaccessible to us humans. Similarly, pit adders have infrared vision, and we don't have access to what it would be like to see prey like a pit adder would see its prey. However, I don't think Nagel's career would have gotten quite so far had he written a paper called What Is It Like to Be a Pit Adder? In any case, the conclusion is that physicalism is false. Notice that both arguments trade on the idea that identities, that minds are identical to brains, are necessities, that everything you say about the one could equally well be said about the other and vice versa. But if it ain't necessarily so, and each of the arguments asserts a counterexample, then the two things being compared can't be the same. Now, that might be ducks and geese, deer and elk, or minds and brains. Now, physicalism, the idea that materialistic explanations are exhaustive, undergirds scientific explanation, then physicalism's failure to explain consciousness isn't just a localized problem. It threatens the foundation of scientific explanation overall. And this is exactly the core argument of Nagel's book.